All right. Happy Monday, man. I don't know about you guys. There's a lot of people that don't like Monday for whatever reason. And sometimes I don't like Monday either. There's times when I don't want to get up and get going. I'm worried about the week or have things on my mind or had a really good weekend and didn't want it to end. But today was definitely was the best Monday I have had in, I don't know, years. Today was an awesome day. We had a lot of really cool things happen. I got to meet with a potential partner today that's going to change the game for Digital Wealth Partners and Digital Family Office and what we're able to offer our clients. Somebody you guys know, like, and love that I can't talk about. But we will, once things are finalized, we'll be able to make an announcement about that counterparty and some of the stuff that we're doing. So super, super excited about that. Potentially going to allow us to be able to generate risk-free returns for clients there at Digital Wealth Partners on their XRP and allow a way for us to be able to provide institutional custody where your assets never leave, that institutional account, and you're still able to get a return with it just sitting there, kind of like a CD or a money market or a debt note. We'll figure out what structured product it's going to be, or maybe we'll do all of them. I don't know. But super, super, super excited about that potential. And then we had our webinar today, this afternoon, for those that have over 500,000 XRP. We ran it down, talked about private placement life insurance, international trusts, family office, structuring things there for your legacy, what that looks like, how to set that up, the standardizing estate plan, that we go through for centimillionaires and billionaires that we work with on the family office side, what that looks like for digital assets, best practices, ways to mitigate taxes and set yourself up, the ways that we work with people to set up foundations, the different constraints around that. We didn't get into donor advised funds at all, but super, super excited there. Max, you want on here with me? Oh, there it is. Just a really good Monday. I hope you guys are off to a good start this week. I hope that you're crushing it. Talked to the mastermind this morning about things. I always write things down on Sundays and things that I want to accomplish over the week, and just want to make sure that I get done. Reading a book called The One Thing. Talked about that in the mastermind this morning. I don't know if you guys have ever read that book or not, but it really kind of distills things down to what the most important thing is, the highest leverage opportunity that you have. And then you basically just go execute on that. And that one thing that you do should make everything else easier or irrelevant. That domino in that book, they talk about, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the little domino that hits the twice the size domino next and twice the size domino next, but the domino theory, kind of talking about XRP. But anyway, that's how you have to look at it. Like, what's the thing that you can do that causes the biggest cascading effect? And I think we got some of that done today. So super excited about the start to this week. We've got a lot of big things planned for next week. XRP Vegas. We will do the lives this week, both Monday and Wednesday. And then next week, I will be out of town both Monday and Wednesday, so we won't have the lives. So soak it up. Hopefully you guys get all your questions answered. And maybe, just maybe, now that we have the stablecoin bill pass through and it's going to get voted on, we'll actually get some regulation in the space. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop into it tonight. Appreciate you guys hanging out on a Monday night with me here and running it down here in the chat. So first up, we have Jeremy Sides with the super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, JC of XRP, a close friend, has a self-directed IRA that utilizes Gemini for crypto purchases. Is this a safe way for him to purchase XRP? If not, please provide your thoughts. Gemini is good. We've talked to Gemini. They have a good institutional trading desk and custody. Should be fine for a self-directed IRA to purchase assets through there. I don't know what the fees are going to be on that. Hopefully he's getting OTC, pricing somewhere around 20 bips or 0.5% or less. And yeah, I think that's fine. I appreciate the super chat. He's followed up with another question. He says the IRA company is a directed trust company. Thanks for all that you do. Yeah, we have a lot of people that set up a trust for their IRA or an LLC IRA. You can do that through Quest, and then there's, I think, Nexus and a few others that'll help you set up an IRA, LLC, or trust where you can purchase digital assets and hold them on a cold wallet inside your own possession. Not supposed to be that way, but you can do it. It's better if you hold it with a custodian like Gemini, or you work with us to be able to provide that. And again, if you have an iTrust Capital account, a Bitcoin IRA account, or you have an IRA somewhere else, a Roth, traditional, self-directed, whatever it is, you can work with Digital Wealth Partners to hold that in institutional custody there in Anchorage. And let me tell you this, we're real close. Sometime in the next 30 to 60 days, I think we'll be able to generate returns on those assets inside your IRA. And I can almost guarantee you that we're going to be only people that are able to do that for XRP and XLM when that takes place. We got Rob with the super chat. He says 66 to 32 on the Genius Act closure to move to the floor. Cheers. Yep. We got the pass today after the fail before. So it was like 48 to 62 or 52 last time. We needed 60. We got 60 votes today. So the stablecoin bill and the Genius Act are off to the races here. This is interesting. It says the Genius Act prohibits yields. Can you explain why? How might this impact stablecoin market growth? Could it effectively kill institutional adoption if the reserves can't generate returns too? So I think the reason for this, Wild Bill, and I appreciate you on the smoochy face and the super chat, is people, they want you to buy treasuries. They don't want you to buy stable coins and generate a yield. They want you to buy the underlying treasuries to generate a yield. And if they had to pay the yield from the treasuries to incentivize people to use the stable coins, it just causes complications, right? It's a derivative of the underlying asset anyway. So now the institutions get to keep all the returns on the treasuries, and they get to issue stable coins as the representation of value against them in a one-to-one representation. So it actually effectively helps the institutions keep all of that money and not have to pay that out to retail or other people to use the tokens. So actually, I think it furthers institutional adoption of stable coins because it effectively allows the institutions to keep all of those returns in-house and not have to pass those along to the people using the stable coins or giving them money. Shade Spot. Evening, Jake. Since XRP bags are already pretty full, if gifted just a few $1,000 worth of XLM and HBAR tonight, would you personally flip to XRP short term, then back in 12 to 18 months? Just a scenario, not investment advice. I mean, you know where I'm at on it, man. I come on here every single week. I did tell you I try to be transparent with you guys. I don't talk my book. I don't try to rug people. I just try to be real with everybody. I just keep buying XRP. That's where I'm putting my money. I did buy some hash because I think that that's a cool little play. It's not a large portion of my portfolio. I threw a little bit of money at that, but that's the only other position I have. It's a couple $1,000 in hash, and everything else I own, my entire net worth, besides my equity and my businesses, it's over there in XRP. So you do you. Can't give you financial advice, like you said, but I tend to agree with what you stated here, I guess, personally. I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity in the next 12 to 18 months to purchase other assets because of the appreciation on XRP and the ability. So here's the other piece of this. I'm fighting for HBAR. I'm fighting for XTC. I'm fighting for these other tokens that don't quite have as much liquidity already as XRP or the established dominance that it does with these institutional custodians. We're looking to onboard with Archax, but the ability to borrow against these things and put them to work in a meaningful way is still a little bit further out. There's a lot of people focused on generating returns on XRP. We already have that capability. We're to market with our product. We're generating returns on XRP for our clients. We talked to Hugo. I've got a podcast with Hugo from Flare that's going to come out here this week for you guys, which is super cool. He's working on a lot of cool things there for F assets and XRP's returns. We got other institutional players that are looking at this. But we are first to market, and we will continue to be the innovator and driving force behind that for XRP. And as soon as we're to market with all of the yield strategies and no risk strategies that we're working on for XRP, then we'll turn our focus to these other assets. And at that point, I'll probably diversify some of my portfolio and participate in those strategies as well. Again, after a lot of the returns are made in XRP. I think there'll be upside in some of these other tokens that outpaces XRP at some point. I don't know when and how much, but I will assess those things as they come, and I will keep you guys updated on where I'm positioned. Thank you for the super chat. Save the spot. This person said, should I sell my XRP and buy HBAR? I can't give you financial advice. If that's what you want to do, go for it. That's not something I will be doing. Why is the price down even though futures are available? So futures are not the thing that's going to cause a supply shock. Futures don't require people to hold the underlying asset. They're just a prerequisite for the spot ETFs. The spot ETFs will drive price up for XRP because people will have to buy it off the open market and hold it to be able to back the spot ETFs. So once you see spot ETFs go live, that's when you're going to see price move. Until then, we'll probably just stay in the pattern that we do have now. We've got Anthony. He says, Jake, how high do you think XRP will go, in your opinion, and when? Look, man, I don't have a crystal ball. I say that all the time on here. If we get the full domino theory to play out this year, I think XRP could be 4 digits. This person says, Jake, can you list the exact order of the dominoes to push XRP to 3 or 4 digits? Yeah, I can run that down for you guys. So if you want to, see the full video, you can go to the YouTube channel. We've got 2 separate videos on it where I've kind of refined my theory over time. But here's the premise. Something causes the Bank of Japan to raise interest rates aggressively. We already started to see that last year. In August, we saw 13% down in the stock market one day. We saw 17% down in the Nikkei in one day. That's not normal. That is a reverse carry trade being unwound. That was about $2 trillion being sucked out of markets and paid back to the Bank of Japan. That's going to happen again, but on a much larger scale. Okay. And that was because the Bank of Japan started raising interest rates aggressively. I think that the cause of that is going to be an oil crisis or some type of energy crisis there in Japan that's going to cause massive inflation in a short period of time, and they will be forced to raise interest rates. I think it'll come out of the Middle East. I think some conflict or something will happen there. I could be wrong. We'll see, what happens. Oh, my wonderful wife. Thank you, ma'am. She's always nice and gets me tea because I'm coughing, and she's trying to take care of me. She's a sweet lady. Sometimes. So, yeah, I think oil will spike for some reason. Don't know what that's going to be. I think that'll drive the Bank of Japan to raise interest rates aggressively. I think that will push the reverse carry trade to unwind, which means people will aggressively sell off positions in all markets globally: gold, crypto, stock markets, bonds, treasuries. There's been tens of trillions of dollars that have been borrowed from the Bank of Japan at 0 to negative interest rates that will have to be refinanced. And if they're not able to refinance it at a profitable rate, they will have to pay them back. So they will have to sell off their positions, swap to dollars, swap those dollars for yen. There's only so much margin in that because they've got to liquidate their position. Broker takes a fee, and then they've got to pay the exchange rate between the dollar and the yen. So there's another variable there. If the yen is appreciating against the dollar because of a rising interest rate, it's very expensive for them to convert back to the yen and pay back those loans. So they'll be rushing to do it. So you're going to see a huge sell-off across global markets. I think gold could pull all the way back down to $2,000 an ounce. You're not going to hear that from anybody else. Everybody else is going to tell you it's going to the moon. Not me. I'm pretty confident we're going to see a very steep pullback to $2,000 on gold. That's when I will be buying it. Bitcoin, same thing. Huge pull down. Stock market, huge pull down. Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway have literally almost $400 billion sitting on the sideline waiting to purchase stocks when that happens, and also be a liquidity provider in a liquidity crisis or a credit crisis. And that Japan's already on the brink of this. They've already come out and said that we're in a worse financial position than Greece. Their 40-year treasury is at a 20-year high. There's just a lot of things that show that we're right on the precipice of this actually transpiring. So we get the stablecoin bill. The only way they're going to be able to stabilize the debt market for the U.S. and the U.S. treasuries that are going to be liquidated in mass from foreign holders is going to be to rush through that stablecoin bill. And now that we have the vote where they can vote on it and rush it through very quickly, now it's poised, it's in position, it's ready to go. Okay, they will ram that through as soon as they need to. The Senate and Congress will vote that through. The Senate and the House pass it. And that will allow large institutions like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Bank of America, Citibank, Goldman, BNY, all these people to issue their stable coins. And they will buy up all of that debt off of the market that gets flooded by international debt holders to be able to stabilize the debt market. So that at least saves the dollar, right? It backs our treasuries. We already got a downgrade from Moody's because they know we're not going to print the money to buy these bonds, okay? Because we can't, because it'd be hyperinflation. Like they're not going to do that. We're going to have to drive demand some other way, and the stablecoin bill is the way to do that. When they pass that, it will pull Tether under the U.S. jurisdiction because it's a U.S. dollar-denominated stablecoin. Even though they've moved offshore down there to El Salvador or wherever they move to, they can't get away. They have a dollar-denominated stablecoin, and they won't be able to be compliant because a portion of that Bitcoin that they have on their balance sheet is in a lawsuit with Celsius. So even if they wanted to liquidate it and get compliant, the U.S. government will be able to freeze those accounts. So that causes a huge liquidity crisis across exchanges. That causes a huge liquidity crisis in crypto. Tether is the most liquid asset for trading. If it were to get delisted or frozen across all the exchanges, we've already seen Crypto.com delisted. We've already seen all the exchanges in Europe delisted. If we saw all the exchanges in the U.S. delisted all at one time, there's a huge liquidity crisis, and there's going to be a need for another liquidity asset to fill that gap. If you look at the Shane Ellis theory, this is how he gets to 589 as Bitfinex goes illiquid, basically, and they drive demand for XRP to $589, and that's then what provides liquidity for their transactions to be able to settle trades inside the exchange. So now you have huge demand from the exchanges. You have a huge drawdown on the stock market. You have a huge drawdown on Bitcoin. And now you have spot ETFs for Bitcoin, right? These people that bought the spot ETF and have allocations to it, they're not diamond hand people, okay? They're here for the gains. And when the gain train ends, they are out. They are selling their positions. So if you saw a 30 or 40% drawdown in Bitcoin, these people are liquidating. The ETFs are going to go even further in the hole than what Bitcoin goes in the hole because people are going to be panicking. They're going to be panic selling. Okay, so this is going to cause huge unrealized losses for the investment banks, and they won't be able to pull from traditional markets and settle these trades because the back end of the stock market settles T+1. It settles next day between the clearinghouses and the brokers. On May 28th last year, they passed that at the DTCC and made it where it's T+1 with the option to settle real time via a digital asset. In 2022, Project Ion was finalized. It was developed between the DTCC and R3. And R3 has the capability to settle through XRP if there's enough liquidity in the asset. So the way that they would push liquidity into XRP along with the exchanges driving demand is they would push the ETFs out. And right now that we have futures live, it's ready to go. They could launch spot at any time. Now that we got the stablecoin bill voted through today, they could push that through at any time. So all of the dominoes are primed now. Now we've got the green light for go. Okay. It is literally, we just wait on Japan to get this going. Okay. And then if you had the ETFs going, you've got the exchanges driving demand, you've got the Ripple case settling, you've got Amazon and Google and all these other partnerships, Bank of America coming out all at the same time, talking about how they're going to use XRP and are partnered with Ripple or R3 or whoever else. That's when you're going to see the FOMO and the crazy, crazy, crazy price appreciation for XRP all at one time. That'll drive it up to a high enough level to be able to settle the back end of the stock market or SWIFT or whatever else they need to settle, including the exchanges. So it's a whole lot of nothing for a long time, and then everything all at once. So hopefully, you've asked for the domino theory. That's it in a nutshell, probably more than you wanted, but hopefully that gives people an idea of why and how quickly this could play out. Rob says, does today's news about Circle courting purchased by either Coinbase or Ripple suggest that they've found a way around altruistic concerns? And does Coinbase relationship put Ripple at a disadvantage? I don't think so. So I've said this before. Little Birdie told me that Circle will not be bought by Ripple for antitrust reasons. We'll see if that's the case or not. Coinbase, though, could make that acquisition, and I think that actually makes a lot of sense as them being a money transmitter. You've got Circle in their money transmission business. Coinbase has a ton of money transmitter licenses. I think that it makes a lot of sense for their business to make that acquisition, and the money market and a lot of the other features, the banking features and payment features of Circle. I think it would be a good addition for them. It makes sense. It's a vertical integration and downstream of what they already provide. So, and they have the money to do it because they're public, right? So, and that'd be good for Circle equity holders, people that bought Circle on private equity. You would convert to Coinbase stock, which would be a great liquidity event for people. I don't know what the conversion rate on that would be, but probably pretty good. But I definitely don't think it puts. So Coinbase is more retail facing, whereas Ripple is more institutional. Kind of two different demographics, B2B versus B2C, and I don't think it would be problematic at all. We got Johnny Lakers. Appreciate you on the super chat. He says, Jake, you were really excited on this morning's call. Do you know something that you are privy to that you can't say due to NDA? It was a really good Monday, Johnny. It was a really good Monday. So there are a few NDAs that we have in place that I can't talk about. But yeah, I am super excited. I am pumped for the end of May and into June. Like, you guys have no idea. I feel like we're right on the precipice of everything that I've been talking about for more than a year playing out all at the same time, and people making so much money it makes their head spin in a short period. And that's, again, why we're aggressively trying to partner with people and make sure they're in position to make sure that they can make the most of this wealth. That's why we had the webinar today. We have another webinar, just so you guys know, if you want to check out this other webinar. So I know we do the lives, like I run through questions on here for people, but I'm going to give educational resources and actual, like, how to mitigate taxes and set up your estate plan and what it looks like to be, worth 10, 50, $100 million, and how you're going to work through that and the things that you actually need to do when you get to those levels on June 2nd. So XRP's birthday, we're going to have a birthday webinar for XRP, and that's for anybody that has 50,000 XRP or more. So if that's something that you guys want to participate in, we do have a Luma event. You can go check it out there on my YouTube. I think it's on YouTube. I think it's on Facebook. I think it's on all the social media platforms, specifically on X also. But register for that. I think we already have 300 people registered for that webinar. We had 220 people on the webinar today, which blew me away. I thought we might get like 40 or 50 people there that had over 500,000 XRP, but we had 220 people on the webinar today that had over 500,000 XRP. So just super blessed and excited to be able to provide value to that group of people. And yeah, anybody that has over 50,000, again, we're going to provide tangible, actionable steps on that webinar for things that you need to be thinking about. He said, missed where to go. So it's on the social media. It's on X. If you guys want to go check that out, we'll try to get it over here on TikTok also. But we'll put out more posts, right? So it's June 2nd. You have time to register. Probably end up with a couple thousand people there on that webinar is kind of my expectation. So super excited to, again, I think we might be at a little bit higher price by June 2nd. Maybe not. XRP will be turning 13 on June 2nd. So again, super excited to run that webinar for you guys. And if you do want to participate, again, would love to have you there. And we will continue to share that so people can register. We got Wayne with the Genius Act. Woohoo! It says, how do so little people know about XRP? We must be super, super early. Only 6 million wallets, 6.5 million wallets, Wayne. Do you have a price point at which you plan to take some profits off the table or holding forever? With the partnership that we started talking to today, Wayne, our clients will never have to sell. I'll never have to sell. We'll be able to provide liquidity against XRP. We'll be able to generate returns on XRP risk-free. Like, I cannot be more jazzed up about what we're going to be able to accomplish in the next 30 to 60 days at Digital Wealth Partners for people. And it'll be for the little guy too. We're working on stuff, little guy. Like, there's going to be a lot of people that have, smaller amounts of XRP. They're going to be worth a lot of money, millions of dollars, when it's $1,000 a piece or $10,000 a piece. And we want to make sure, my wife said I'm saying too much. We want to make sure that people are taken care of, right? And I'm working on a method to be able to do that for all of the XRP community. I know, like, a lot of people kind of get disheartened or beat up because we've been focusing on people that have larger amounts. And here's the real truth about that, right? Couple things. And these are just real truths from me working with people. I'm not trying to beat anybody up. This is just anecdotal things, the deal, okay? So people that have more money tend to be easier to work with. Just plain and simple. They do not complain. If they know that value, they will pay for the value. They're not going to nickel and dime me. They're not going to, like, try to undercut or do any of that. They'll negotiate a little bit, but most people are very happy for the services that we provide and value them and pay for them. So super easy to deal with if they're a high net worth client. Additionally to that, if we are able to aggregate large amounts of XRP and work with these high net worth individuals and provide a high level of service, we have negotiating power, which you already have. So, we have almost 200 million XRP under management at this point, and that's growing by the day. I'm hoping that by the end of this year, we can be somewhere between 500 million and 1 billion XRP under management. And now we're like a small country, right? Do you work for Ripple? No, we do not work for, I do not work for Ripple. We talk to Ripple and we're talking to them about some different things. But I don't have any contracts, affiliations, anything with Ripple. So anyway, if the larger people can come together and form a united front, everybody has their own segmented accounts. We provide individual service. We provide all the services separately. You have FBO accounts, insured. There's never commingled. We do all that. But at scale, now we can bring on the little guy, even if it's 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 XRP, and have it at a fair price because we're making enough money between everybody that I can make sure that we cover overhead and costs and run a business and pay our vendors and have everything, right? And just so you know, if you haven't ever run a business before, you got two ways of making money. And most people always start this way and then they end up the other way. You can either go, you just work with the top 1% and sell items to rich people or wealthy people. And there's a lot of money in that. And most people, like you look at who's the wealthiest guy in the world right now. He's more than Elon Musk. He owns like Versace and all the brands, right? I can't think of the guy's name, but they sell high-end fashion items, purses, jewelry, all that stuff. This guy doesn't look like Blake Griffin. I'll take the compliment. And you stay there, right? They don't offer knockoff brands. They don't discount themselves. And then you got people like Walmart that are volume-based and operate on low margins. But because they are so huge, they are able to negotiate with their vendors. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Walmart is consignment. They don't buy anything in the store. All of their vendors can put stuff on the shelves and they don't pay for it until you buy it. Dell is the same way. Dell puts all of their vendors put their products on site and they don't pay for it until that you order that computer and they take it out of the container and build the computer for you. Because Amazon's the same way, right? So there's two ways to operate. You have to be able to have margins to be able to participate and pay your employees and do all that stuff. And in order to get to scale, you have to have some pretty significant margins. We don't have crazy margins. Like, we make money because we're a business, right? And I just reinvested and scale things. But at the same time, like, there's a method to the madness to be able to, work with people at all levels. And we're getting there. So if this guy says holding till we work with the little guys, it's coming, man. It's on our roadmap. Just know that, it's not like, and people are like, you don't do enough. People get on social media and talk shit. Excuse my French. Look, we wouldn't be who we are without the mastermind. We wouldn't be who we are without all the people that have stood behind us and worked with us since the beginning. I remember when I launched the mastermind and we had like 50 people sign up at $25. Okay. I value those relationships and people that have been loyal since then more than gold. I wouldn't trade them for anything. So we have almost 2,000 people in the mastermind now. It's been over 2 years that we've been running that program and putting out educational resources and helping people get access to things that they can't if they're not accredited. So don't tell me I haven't been here for the little guy. We have done more for the little guy in the XRP community than anybody else. I'm consistently on spaces answering questions and lives answering questions for anybody and everybody. I take time away from my family. I try to make sure that I do as much as I possibly can to help everybody in the community. And we will continue to provide value at scale for everybody here in the XRP family. But there is a method to the madness, and we do. We're going to get there, man. So just be patient with us. I know it can be frustrating at times when we're curating services toward the higher net worth people, but I just want to make sure you guys are aware. You mean the world to us, and we do appreciate you, and we want to work with you. Okay. So anyway, I'm off my soapbox, but just wanted to get that off my chest. And if you guys want to be a part of the mastermind, we would love to have you in there. That's another way that we give back to the little guy. I know not everybody has a whole bunch of money, disposable income, right? We do have a payment gate on the mastermind to keep out the riffraff and the BS. Okay. But social membership's $25 a month. And we give a whole month away for free. If you want to use the code Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, it gets you a whole month there. You can see if the group's for you or not. I'm not trying to there's some people that call me a grifter. I'm not here to take anybody's money. Like, buy more XRP. You don't have to join the group. Keep investing. I tell people, like, if they have less than, 10,000 XRP and they're like, should I set up an LLC? And I'm like, no, don't give me the money. Put it in the investments. You know what I mean? So if you do want to join, this person's asked, where can we get in? You go to beyondbroke.com. That's the name of the website, mastermind.beyondbroke.com. And you can use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, and then the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. I come in there every Saturday morning religiously, 9 a.m. We go for 2 hours, answer everybody's questions, go over the private deals we're working on in the group, macroeconomics. And then Mondays are exclusive for the digital asset discussion. We run that down for about 30 to 45 minutes every Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. We have a voice chat every single day on Sunday. That's there at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time that's run by the community that I'm not even a part of, which is super awesome. And then we have a separate call on Tuesdays for Carbon 2 that's outside the mastermind on a Google chat or whatever it is. And then occasionally we'll have additional professionals that come into the mastermind and talk on a Wednesday or a Friday about specific topics, including life insurance, different types of investments, estate planning, international trusts, again, we just want to provide as much educational resources as we possibly can for people there in the community. So if you come in there and you think that there's something else we could be doing to provide value, I want people to feel like, wow, I would pay a whole lot more for this. Like that's the feeling I want people to have when they join the community. So if you don't feel that way and you feel like there's more that we could be doing or other things, we love that feedback. We want the constructive criticism. Please reach out to myself or the moderators there in the group, and we will rectify it, whatever it is. This person says a webinar for the little guys and gals would be awesome. So we have that 50,000 XRP one that's going to be on June 2nd. And then we'll probably put together another one after that for quote unquote the little guy, maybe 1,000 XRP or more, where we go over just basic ways to mitigate taxes, set yourself up, things that you need to be thinking about, professionals you should surround yourself about. Today was like really high level, like billionaire centimillionaire stuff, but we'll break that down. And again, people are like, I can't go. I'm like, it's not even relevant. And we'll continue to put out the information for people. But if you don't have that much XRP, you're probably not going to be a billionaire. And I hate to break that to people, but like when you're at that level, there's just certain tools and things that you have access to, or things that you can do that you can't do with 10 million or $50 million. There's levels to the game. I didn't write the rules. I would hopefully I get to at some point. But we're not there yet. This person says, Atlantic Living, how are you? They say, why do you believe the Senate canceled the meeting with Garlinghouse? I didn't know that they did. Maybe kicking the can just a little bit further. We got Mighty Mouse, golly, with the super chat. Thank you so much. They say, hey, Jake, I know you laugh at Legend, so we will leave that one alone tonight. My question is about USDT 0. What is that about? Is that something that may compete with XRP? Thanks for all that you do. Compete with XRP, question mark. Thanks for all that you do. I guess he double text that. Glad to be a member of the mastermind. Awesome, brother. Appreciate you being there. I haven't heard about USDT 0. I'll have to look into it. I wish I had more information. You give me a really nice super chat here, and I wish I could give you like a full breakdown and run it down for you. My speculation, that's the best I can give you, is that is the other stable coin that they're going to be launching to be compliant with the U.S. regulations that they've mentioned. We've seen who's the guy that Lutnick talk about this, that they're going to launch a separate stable coin to be compliant. Like, get out of here for real. Like, why can't you just make the one that you have compliant? Because you can't, because there's Bitcoin on the balance sheet. There's not going to be anything else that competes with XRP. I spent literally years trying to figure out how I was wrong. And now I'm super blessed to be able to have conversations with people that just continually reaffirm that we are right. Which is crazy to me, because like how do I or you guys pick the one digital asset out of like 50,000 digital assets that's going to be the one that has the most appreciation, and believe in it long enough to hold it for years while FUD and the lawsuit and everything else is telling you that it's wrong and you should drop it and swap it for Solana or some other crazy meme coin? And there's been a lot of people that have done that, and I've seen other people get burnt. I've had conversations with people, unfortunately, that have had hundreds of thousands of XRP that no longer have any because they decided to sell it and swap into some Ponzi scheme, and then they lost all their money, and then they were like, it's a scam, and they left the space. Man, like, all you had to do was sit on your hands. Just wait, be patient. You had conviction, hold the token, and just like Bitcoin, like people that have been patient with Bitcoin that had it 5, 6, 10 years ago, they are in a very good spot. They bought Bitcoin at $50, $100, and now it's over $100,000. Like, you're in the same position with XRP. All you have to do is just sit on your hands and not do anything. And don't get overexcited. People are going to get super emotional when things start to run up. And that's the other benefit of the mastermind. You're going to be able to be in the mastermind around other people that are experiencing the same thing as you. And we're going to be there to help guide people and keep you calm, keep you collected, make sure you're making good choices, calling your CPA, calling your attorney, calling your wife, the 3 people that you probably need to call, or your spouse, excuse me, ladies, when all this shakes down. And woosah, right? Calm down. You got a plan. If you have some exit points, take profit at those exit points. The other person asked if I'm going to take profit. I'm not, because we're going to have access to stuff in the next 30 days that I'm aware of that you're not going to need to. So anybody that's working with Digital Wealth Partners, like, we got you. But if you do want to sell, and I do need to rectify this because I've made a mistake. And again, I always own when I make a mistake. I came on here last week and said that trading was 12 basis points. I have been told that's not true. We're still at 20 basis points on the trades for the OTC trades. That's any trade though. So we operate like an OTC desk. You could trade $1,000. It's 20 basis points or $2 on $1,000 trade. It's very, very minimal. Is that right? Yeah, $2 on $1,000. So, if you traded $1 million, 20 basis points would be $2,000 is all it would cost you to trade $1 million with us. Very little in comparison to anybody else on the market. We're the lowest cost of anybody. There's a few other people at that level. If you're trading $1 million, that'll do 20 basis points, but there's nobody else that, if you're doing $1,000, is going to do 20 basis points. Everybody's taking you for at least $10, $15, $20 on $1,000 trade. So again, just additional benefits that we're providing to our clients. And I'll mention this here. This is public information now. We did offer this. If you have over 500,000 XRP and you do want to onboard as a client, we have reduced fees as long as you fund your account by the 15th of June. We're going to do 20 basis points lifetime locked in. My team does not want me to do that. They were like, this is crazy. This is too low. You should not be doing this. But I said, hey, look, like, we got to take care of people. I want to make sure that, these large accounts, like, because the way that we had it, if you were under 5 million and you're paying 2%, if you brought over $5 million, like, it's a lot of coin every month to pay for custody, right? Now, if you have $1 million that you bring over, that's $2,000 over the year. It's less than $200 a month to get institutional custody for people that have more than $1 million in XRP. So just so you know, I know there's a lot of people watching that may or probably aren't at that threshold. But if you are watching and you are over that threshold, we would love to work with you. And we've got it at the lowest possible price that we can do it. Like, my team told me no, and I said yes. Anyway, would love to work with you if you are at that level. And anybody that currently works with us is going to get that discount as well. If they are over, actually the number is 425,000 XRP. So just so you guys are aware. Incognito says, so we can borrow against our XRP at 19% right now. Is that interest a tax deduction? Yes, it's tax deductible. And we're actually at 14.5 on the interest rate. And with the partnership that we're talking to, it's going to be much lower than that. So anyway, super excited. It's a really good Monday, man. Matthew Boyd says, hey, Jake, what are your thoughts on Loomis refusing to meet with Brad Garlinghouse? Oh, so this is what they're talking about. And she refuses to reschedule with him. Thanks. Not surprised. She's very Bitcoin prominent. And even though Brad owns Bitcoin, he's been a Bitcoin promoter. Obviously, they are scared of Ripple and XRP for good reason. I don't know if you guys are watching the XRP and Bitcoin chart, but I am. And I'm really liking the descending wedge, the triangle that it's in right now. It's back down to the level where it looks like it could break out against Bitcoin. And when it does, that baby's going to rocket. So anyway, I think they know what's going to happen. And I think Loomis knows what's going to happen. And that's why I don't think they want to meet with Brad. I think they're butthurt. Daniel Doolittle says, when prenup course? Good question. So I will confer back with my main estate planner I talked to him today about some other things that we're working on that's pretty cool. But we will put together the spicy prenup course and get that out for you guys. I'll follow up with him on that because I do think that that's going to be valuable. And he puts it together in a really good way. He breaks it into 4 quadrants, and he'll do it in the video in the course that we put together. But you have like tangible and intangible things that people bring to a relationship. And oftentimes, there used to be an endowment that you would get for marrying a woman. You would get like, the father of the bride would give you whatever it was. And most of the time you still get wedding gifts from people. But there's certain non-physical things that partners bring to a relationship. And so those have to be accounted for too in the prenup. You want to make sure that you're accounting for those things, because I think a lot of people are one-sided on that. So anyway, he has a really unique perspective, and we'll put that together for people because I think it's a really constructive way for them to think through how they're going to structure that prenup. And I think it'll open people's eyes to a few different angles that they may have not thought about. Lightning Squid. It's an interesting name. They say, hey, Jake, any concerns about holding wrapped versions of XRP like UXRP for those of us that transact a lot on various DeFi networks? Yes. Anytime you're wrapping a token, it should be locked on the network you wrapped it on, should be locked on the XRPO, and you shouldn't have the counterparty risk of loss. However, if you're having to do that on a specific platform, if you're having to lock it up on somebody else's platform and they mint the wrap token for you, and it's not native to the network like an F asset would be, that's concerning to me, because then there's counterparty risk. There's somebody else that has access to your token and they could rug you and leave you with the wrap token or that representation of value that wouldn't be redeemable for the underlying asset, right? So just want to make sure that you understand the counterparty risk for whoever you're operating with. I don't know what UXRP is. I haven't messed around with any of that. And again, like, look, I'm kind of lame and I'm pretty risk adverse, and that doesn't seem like it would be with as much of an allocation as I had to digital assets and being progressive in this space and all the stuff that we do. I have a very high conviction on XRP, and that's why I'm siloed in that particular investment. You'll also find, this is funny, but most money managers, they may have a portion of their net worth in their fund, which we do, and I do, but it's in XRP. The rest of their money, they just stick in the S&P 500. They do something very passive. They don't want to actively manage their money while they're managing other people's money. And that's kind of how I think about XRP. Like, it's an easy set it, forget it, know where I'm going to put it. I don't have to think through anything or diversification or hedging or any of that. Like, I know that that's going to work out and it's going to be good. And so that's why I just continue to stack there. But I don't risk it. I don't play with any DeFi. I did some trust lines early on. I played with NFTs a little bit just because I wanted to understand the functionality for it. But there's just too much risk of loss, man. And especially with what I have access to now and what we've created, like, why would you? I have institutional guarantees and insurance and a bunch of other stuff to be able to leverage the XRP and earn a return on it in a way that no retail investor is going to have access to except through Digital Wealth Partners. So anyway, I just be careful out there. Not saying it's wrong, not saying there's counterparty risk. I don't know enough about it to like tell you one way or the other. I would just say make sure that you understand the counterparty risk associated with issuing a wrap token. And then Rippled says Hidden Road should be renamed to Ripple Road. No comment. We got DNKY. It says, what's up, brother? Watching the Japan economic indicators. We are close to the reverse carry trade. What's your prediction on how long Japan can kick the can and keep thinking mid-June for meltdown? Thoughts? I don't think we got that long. I said 90 days about 90 days ago, back in March. I think we're real close. I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks, it could go to the first week of March or June. I really think potentially next week during XRP Vegas, or even a little bit previous to it, we could start to see things snowball very quickly. Because like I said, today is the green light, just so you guys are aware. We got futures and we got the stablecoin bill ready to go through. There's nothing else holding this up. And the case will settle after. It's going to be price before the case settles. Okay. Once the case settles, it's too late. And the price of XRP can't be correlated with the Ripple case. Otherwise, it's the security of Ripple. Like, that's the whole point of the case, is that it's not a security of Ripple. So Ripple can't be the reason that XRP's price goes up. It needs to be another party like R3 that starts using XRP, or the exchanges that start using XRP, or other institutions that start using XRP. It can't be Ripple. Otherwise, it's the security of Ripple and it's not decentralized. So that's how this has to happen. So you're going to get the final ruling from the judge post price appreciation, in my personal opinion. I think you're going to see, the SEC lay on the sword on when they file their brief, which will be number 985, which is interesting. June 1st, we should have about 58.9 billion XRP in circulating supply. It's just interesting that number keeps coming up over and over again. So anyway, 1st of June, XRP's birthday. Again, we're going to have our webinar on June 2nd. If you guys want to participate in that, would love to see you there. We've got KJ. He says, are the returns you're generating from a form of a loan or close to a yield that would be taxed as income? Both. So what we do is we park the XRP in institutional custody. That value is then reflected on a counterparty's exchange, where we partner with a sub-advisor that has a very strong track record. They've run market neutral strategies over the past 6 years that have generated somewhere between 20 and 40% returns with the cash that they've had in their funds. We get an 80% margin release against the XRP. They trade like 50 to 60% of that line of margin on a line of credit that goes up and down with the value of the asset. They never trade more than 60% of the line of credit. So there's never a chance of a margin call, never any chance of loss. We've mitigated all counterparty risk and risk of loss in that way. The only risk of loss for what we're doing is that if the fund manager has a negative quarter, which has never happened before. They've had negative months occasionally, but they've always, again, generated enough profit within the 3-month period to be positive over the quarter. And so we don't have any yield bearing products. These are returns. The difference between yield and returns is yield is like a guaranteed rate of return. Returns are like they're variable. It goes up and down. So far, in the funds that we have, I can talk about it, they're 506C, so they're only institutional or accredited investors that can participate in these. We've got about $60 million worth of XRP in the funds today, and we've generated about a little over 2%, almost, well, could be 3% in the near future on the XRP in the first 50 days that we've had the XRP in the strategies. So I think it's fairly reasonable based on the current trajectory of things and the previous track records. We're targeting somewhere between 12 and 15% returns for our investors in kind or in cash, depending on which fund you do for your XRP. And those returns would be taxable if it's in cash. I'm working on a solution. We'll see if it works or not, to be able to get any in-kind returns not taxable because of the way we've structured things. So I've got to get a letter from the IRS. I got to pay some money. I got to, work with some attorneys and do some stuff. But there's a possibility by the end of the year that in-kind returns for our clients may not be taxable, which would be super cool. We've got Sean Sides. What's up, man? He says, sure seems like the bank-backed senators are going to do all they can to keep the loopholes for Tether. As one domino, does XRP moon if they can keep Tether upright and unsanctioned? Blessings, Jake. You really just need the downturn in Bitcoin. And I think Look, man, the Tether logo is an atomic bomb. Okay, like what? How much more symbolism do you need? Like they're gonna rug the whole market with Tether, and they know that. Like there's too much symbolism there. Look, I'm not like I take everything with a grain of salt. I'm a little tinfoil hat, just so you guys know, little tiny tinfoil hat. But it's enough for me to be open-minded about stuff and look at things through a different lens than I would if I was uptight and like rigid. Okay. So I always try to stay open-minded. Could they keep Tether? I think they do keep Tether over the long term. But I think in the short term, they're going to use it. And if XRP really is the way that the US is able to pay off its debts and remain in some type of control of the monetary system, because Ripple's a US-based company and maybe there's a portion of the escrow that ends up with, our treasury, they're going to do it. And they're going to orchestrate it. And if they need to use Tether as a pawn in that game, they're going to do it. And why else would they be trying to roll them in? Right? Like, why is Tether running? There's just too many like questions there for me for it to be not a problem. I don't know if you guys remember the CZ quote, but he put out a tweet back in like 22 or 23, where he talked about the Titanic and things that were untethered would come back to the surface. You go look it up. CZ Binance before he went to prison. Anyway, just little things like that. Words mean things. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I think that they need to sanction Tether in order for the U.S. to maintain some type of dominance in the financial system. And if they used it to be able to track all of the, sanctioned people transacting, it's another really good reason to sanction the network. Kermit Singh says, "Hey Jake, thank you so much. Appreciate you for the super chat, brother." He says, "If someone had around 8,000 XRP and is in Canada, what would be the best way to hold it and grow it safe? Do you recommend setting up an incorporation and custody?" So today that's about 20 grand ish. I'd keep buying XRP now or other digital assets. I'd keep investing. I wouldn't incorporate yet. The other thing about Canada is you can gift to your heart's content there in Canada. I would start sourcing professionals now and start thinking through what I was going to do with that money. And I would just go ahead and plan on, at some point XRP is going to be a couple $1,000 a piece. And if that's the case, you got $1.6 million, right? Or, ish 1.6 mil. Like, are you going to retire? Is that enough for you to retire? If you park it somewhere and you're earning 5% on it, that's $80,000 a year. Does that replace your salary? Do you live in Toronto? Toronto's really expensive. Do you live in Saskatchewan? Like, where do you live? I don't know. If you live in somewhere that's a bit more affordable than Toronto, over the long term, maybe it's worth $10,000 and you got $80 million, right? And now we're talking. Now you could put that to work and you could earn 5%, it's $4 million a year. Now you could live pretty much anywhere you want. But you're going to have to hold for a long time. And we'll be able to work with you in institutional custody when it gets over $1 million. Like, we will have options at that point for people. I can promise you. Like, I'm working hard to make sure we have those options in place for people. And you would want to incorporate, you would want to figure out, where to put it to mitigate taxes. Canada's not great for taxes. I don't know if you plan on coming here to the US or not. There's definitely, you can go to Bermuda or the Caymans is where we see people structure things. BVI, Middle East. There's a lot of other jurisdictions. Dubai specifically there in the Middle East, the UAE, where you can go and mitigate taxes, and things are a lot more beneficial for crypto and huge capital gains. So I would still borrow against it. It's probably the best way to do it. And you could do that in your personal name, or I would set up a trust of some kind, likely. Club Trofer says, what kind of returns do you think would be offered? We're getting, like I said, we've done about 2% in the first 50 days that we've had the assets in the funds. So we're projecting or targeting somewhere between 12 and 15% a year on XRP. for the way that we're currently generating returns. But hopefully in the near future, we're going to have a risk-free rate that'll be close to prime for people to just park your XRP and know that there's no risk and be able to generate a return. Just like everybody talked about the banks doing, we got you. K-Girl says, so when spot ETFs this summer? I think before then. They got to approve or deny Grayscale by Thursday. And you know Ripple loves Thursdays. So that's the 22nd here in just a few days. They could kick it. They could kick the can. But now that we have futures live, like I said, today is the green light. Everything is in place. Everything's ready to go. We're just waiting on Japan, and we're waiting on the interest rates to climb there for the Bank of Japan. And maybe we're waiting on oil. We'll see. Let's see here. We've got John Ferguson. What's going on, man? How are you? He says, hey, Jake, what do you think about all the Simpson XRP theories? Was the creator a time traveler? Keep up the good work, brother. Y'all want to get real weird for a second? I normally don't go down this rabbit hole, but we're going to go down a rabbit hole for you guys. I don't know if you guys know who ended up looking over Tesla's stuff when he passed away, but you can look it up. Yes, get weird. Go check out who can you review the advantage of 425 XRP again. Let me touch on this and then we'll get weird. So if you want to work with us at Digital Wealth Partners, we're going to cut it to 20 basis points. If you want to move your assets in by June 15th, we're going to offer 20 basis points lifetime guarantee for anybody that has more than 425,000 XRP. Like, you're not going to get that rate anywhere for AUM or management or anything. Like, that is the lowest possible rate that I can possibly go to. Like, my team is like, no, and I'm like, yes. So, for every $1 million that you have, it's only $2,000 a year. It's less than $200 a month. You get the insurance, advisory, institutional custody, your own account, all of the opportunities and everything that we have to offer, including the funds, be able to generate returns, borrow against it, all the advisory, and then all the additional services that we're going to be able to offer and provide you as well. So just go to digitalwealthpartners.net and fill out the contact us form and let us know how much you have, and we would love to work with you before June 15th. All right, so back to the weird. Trump's uncle. You guys got it over here on TikTok. I can't see the stuff here on YouTube. So John Trump was the one that went through all of Tesla's trunks. And Tesla had 18 trunks that he had all of his patents and stuff in. Okay. Like the inventions, all like time travel, the death beam, like frequency modulators, like a bunch of stuff that he invented and patented and discovered. And if if he's divinely connected or, Akashic record, whatever you want to believe, right? Obviously JP Morgan wanted to, thwart that and didn't fund the tower for free energy. But all of those patents and everything was in those trunks when he died in the hotel room. He had some really weird clicks and stuff and was in love with a pigeon and some weird stuff at the end of his life. But anyway, I digress. So John goes and he looks through these trunks and he says, nope, nothing there, nothing of interest in his report, but only 10 of those trunks made it back to Europe for his family. The other 8 trunks, they don't know. They just disappeared. John said there wasn't anything, but those other 8 trunks, they're gone now. And I'm pretty confident the U.S. government, or maybe the Trump family, ended up with those trunks. There at Mar-a-Lago, you have an exact replica of the golden Ark of the Covenant. Pretty crazy that you would build an exact replica of the Ark of the Covenant and keep it at Mar-a-Lago. Really weird. if you go and you look at, there's a book written in the late 1800s, like 1893, called The Adventures of Baron Trump, like Trump's son. And it's the third book in the trilogy is called The Last President. Go look it up. Wild stuff, man. So I don't know. Is there really time travel? Like, are people manipulating the future? Is the butterfly theory or like time string theory real? Are there different timelines and stuff? I don't know about all that stuff, man. String theory and all that. Just a lot of crazy stuff out there. It's very interesting. This person says, is it 425K XRP or $425 worth of XRP? It's 425,000 XRP. So close to $1 million in XRP at current value is when we're offering the 20 basis points for people for the lifetime to lock it in. And then you'd be able to participate in the funds and everything else too. So, we'll go back to the question here. He says, what do you think of the Simpson theories? They've called a lot of stuff, man. Like a lot of stuff. There's been some weird stuff that they haven't called too. So I think there's like stuff sprinkled in there where it's right and wrong, but any kind of psyop, that's how you have to do it. So I don't know. It's very interesting. We got Josh R. He says, you are an absolute legend. Thank you for the kind words, man. He said, what are your thoughts on the MicroStrategy lawsuit? These things happen all the time. There's class action lawsuits against people all the time. People get butthurt about stuff. You've seen their stock continue to decline here because they continue to sell and then buy more Bitcoin for their treasury and raise capital through the stock, and then they buy more Bitcoin with the treasury. They're really stacked now. I don't know what the liquidation point for Saylor is at this point, but it's got to be close to $80,000 Bitcoin. People aren't going to like this, but when the reverse carry trade unwinds, I think you could see a $20,000 Bitcoin or less. I've said that for a long time. Saylor lost $6 billion in one day during the dot-com boom. Very similar MicroStrategy thing that he did. Saylor is a front man. He plays his role super well. Okay. He gets people excited. He has high conviction. He sounds really smart. And he is. Saylor is just very intelligent. He's articulate. He's a good front man for whatever you're trying to put out there, whatever narrative you're trying to curate for the public. Brilliant. And this is the second time they've run him through on the same scam, same deal. Okay. I think it's interesting, the plays that people are making, turning regular companies into these treasuries for digital assets, and then people are speculating on the appreciation of the asset in the treasury versus the actual economics of the business. It's a very interesting play. I think somebody might do it for XRP at some point. But yeah, I'm not overly concerned about the class action lawsuit. I do think that they're in for a rude awakening, though, as Bitcoin plummets because of the reverse carry trade unwinding and Tether. We got Daniel R. Smith. He says, Jake, thanks for your hard work. Dallas native living in Brazil. Very cool, man. Thank you for tuning in and taking time out of your evening and giving the shout out. We got John. Oh, John's already asked about the Simpsons. I need to scroll on down here. It always kicks me up in the chat. We got Maris. They say, hey, Jake, how much will XRP wear worth in 10 years? I could see $100,000 XRP in 10 years. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think beyond 2030. Because here's the deal. Elon wants to colonize Mars. You're going to have metaverses. You're going to have these other economies that need interoperability, and they're all going to have value within them. And I know this sounds like some crazy futuristic stuff, okay? I know. I'm aware that I sound asinine. But yeah, I think that if you had that amount of value, you had derivatives and you had, stock markets and you had other economic things and financial markets in other economies that all had to be interoperable, I think it's very reasonable that you could see $100,000 XRP. And you've seen David Schwartz talk about, if XRP was $1 million, it would be very easy to send $1 million payment. Cost very little for these banks. That's hard to fathom for most people today. It's $2.40, whatever it is today right now, for something to go to. But imagine, I mean, Bitcoin has done it. So that's the other thing. Like, there's something that's already done this in a very similar time frame. So you can't say it can't be done because it's already been done, right? And it's just supply and demand. That's all it boils down to, is supply and demand economics. And if you do the math on it, and we do see economies scale at the rate that I think they're going to with AI and these other innovations and space travel and metaverses and other things like that, derivatives, like that's the other crazy part here. Once they can quantify risk in derivatives market because of Codius and the XRPL and using XRP as the collateral for derivatives, now you're going to be able to expand that market exponentially also. So right now, derivatives could be worth in the quadrillions already, right? But if they were able to actually underwrite the risk and create insurance against the loss in the derivatives market and understand the risk associated with it and their exposure for the investment banks, I think you're going to see even more of an adoption for the derivatives market and even additional financial products. Like, we're already talking about creating derivatives and financial products on top of these digital assets and tokenized private equity and a bunch of other things that does not exist today that will need something to settle that value. And so if that's going to be the case and people are going to continue to build out these derivative products on top of new blockchains and other financial infrastructure in totally new innovative ways, and then across multiple economies, I think it's very reasonable that you could see a 6-digit XRP in 10 years' time. And I'll look back to this video. And if I'm wrong, I'm happy to say I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. We are about 15 minutes out here from wrapping it up tonight, but I'm going to try to make it through all the super chats that we have left here on the stream. We got G.I. Kai. What's up, man? He says the GOAT. I don't know if I'm the greatest of all time, but I really do appreciate the kind words. He says, maybe, I'm speculating here, but it does seem like there could potentially be some sort of relationship between Ripple and BlackRock. You have no idea. G.I. Kai, you have no idea. If people really knew what was going on there, and I think that may end up coming out at some point, but it'll be later. Abdeli, do you guys use Fireblocks on Ripple custody for XRP that's under management? And do you have an opinion on Trezor? Is it safe? It's good questions. So we utilize a derivative of Copper at Anchorage. They built their own institutional blockchain that's Copper based. So it's a separate institutional grade backend software custody solution, separate of Fireblocks and separate of Medico. I think it's better. Both Medico and Copper utilize HSMs, which is what's required for institutional grade custody and to be a qualified custodian and be IPFS compliant here in the US. Fireblocks uses MPS. It's a different infrastructure. It's not the hardware security modules. And it could be more secure, but it's not compliant, and it can't be used by a regulated custodian to be operated in the right way. So BNY uses Fireblocks though to provide their own institutional grade custody for their own digital assets, just not clients. So we do not use either one of them. We use a derivative of Copper. We are looking to onboard with Archax in the near future. Archax uses both Ripple custody and Fireblocks. So at that point, we will have both, and we will be able to custody HBAR and XDC, and potentially Flare as well. So hopefully here in the next 30, 60 days, that'll be across the line. Do you have an opinion on Trezor? Yeah, I like Trezor. Trezor's not bad. The only thing that I'm mainly concerned about is Ledger at this point. I've just seen things that were not great. And the user interface for Ledger is not great either. I think there's just better options out there. Don't like talking bad about people, but decent is what I prefer. I think we actually probably have a link down in the description. And we're an affiliate for Decent. It's my favorite. You have a biometric. It has a great user interface, largest breadth of assets of any of these, cold wallets. Tangem is another good one. Other people like Arculus or EliPal that are air gapped. There's a lot of stuff out there. Always make sure you're buying from the manufacturer. Don't buy it off Amazon. Buy direct. That's my opinion. Wow, we're like halfway through here. I'm going to try to get through all these. We got right on the nips. The name every time. Hey, Jake, just want to let you know that you're the man, and that is all. I don't know that I'm the man, but I really do appreciate the kind words. Appreciate you hanging out here and listening to me ramble on every week. I really do enjoy this, and you guys do really ask really good questions. Luffy says, thank you for all that you do. I'm in the mastermind. Awesome, man. Join Carbon One after price appreciation. You are appreciated, brother. Love your services. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you and the kind words. If you guys do want to join the mastermind, it is up here in the description. That's running across the top of the screen. Just go to beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there in the group. So beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you a free month there at beyondbroke.com. And that's a Carbon One or the social membership. We have another event here in the near future. So if you're going to be at XRP Vegas on the Wednesday night, we have an event exclusive for the mastermind. Some big names coming through where we're going to have that. So we would love to see you there if you are in the group and you're going to be there in Vegas for the week. I think people are going to be really excited about that. We got UK resident wants to stay in the UK and join DWP after price appreciation. Would you handle all tax financial matters for DWP? Or need specialists in the UK as well? We have specialists in the UK. You don't want to set up an LLC unless it's in Nevis or Portugal. A limited company is what you would set up there in the UK if you're going to do it that way. Taxes in the UK suck. They suck. I would get out of the UK. But you probably have family there. You probably enjoy it there. It's probably where you've lived your whole life. I would travel some on the other side of appreciation. I would go places that you haven't ever been before. I would see what the world's like outside of the UK. And you might change your mind on about staying there or not. There's a lot of people that I know that have moved to Dubai from the UK or Singapore just because they're treated better and the quality of life's better in those places, just from what I understand. Right. Like this is just hearsay. This is just people that I know that have made that transition and they probably have biases. So, but we can absolutely work with you if you are domiciled there in the UK, but you would have to have your assets structured in some type of trust or entity. And again, would not recommend setting up something there under the crown of the parliament. I would get it into Portugal or Monaco or Switzerland or hell, even Croatia, away from the UK. Jordan is another good one, or Nevis, or a lot of jurisdictions over there in Europe that we commonly see. Thank you for the super chat. We've got this gentleman again. We already answered that. Appreciate you. We already did Mighty Tone. Scroll down here. It always kicks me way up in the chat, and I'm probably going to miss a super chat here or there. We've got Nick Eaton. He says, I just want to say thank you for everything. I've learned about this has been since March 1st. Very cool, man. Glad to have you here on the live. Appreciate you watching. I am the little guy, dad of 4 with a wife that thinks I'm nuts. Not alone, bro. I have like 3,500 XRP and can't wait to join DAG. Yeah. So this can change a lot of people's lives. And people are going to be in a position where they can take care of their family in a very short period of time. But again, you're going to have to be strong. You're going to have to know, that you're going to have to wait a little bit longer if you have a little bit less. If you've been here since March 1st, God bless you. I think you got in at a really good time. I think you found it at the right time for you. And, wish you the best of luck with everything. Whatever your exit plan is, execute that, brother. Make sure you take care of your family. If you can, hold on to some of that XRP for your kiddos. You got 4 of them, and put it into a trust and make sure that they have access to that. It is the golden goose. I think that this is going to lay golden eggs for people for the next 100 years or longer if they're able to hold on to it. So thank you for the super chat and being here and the kind words. We look forward to working with you. We got Group 1 Gavin. What's up, man? He says, "G'day, legend. As West Aussie, I am so freaking proud of how Americans are going right on now. And I'm stoked for you personally with today's news. Jake, you deserve big wins. Spring in your step today. X." Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, today is like over the moon. I had one of the best Mondays I think I've ever had in my whole life today. This super awesome. So thank you for the kind words. And I could not be more excited for where we are right now, like living in the moment. We got the green light today, guys. Like I don't know how to tell you any more than that everything is in place and ready to go. And we're just waiting on them to kick these dominoes to get it going. We got Bell. They say warm salutes from Laredo. What's up? 30K could be a life-changing amount. Yeah, for sure. 30,000 XRP could definitely be a life-changing amount. Again, like it just depends on what your strategy is and what you want to do with that. If you want to be a billionaire, probably not, unless you're going to hold on to it for a long time. But if you want $30 million, like $10,000 XRP gives you $30 million. Or $1,000 XRP. $1,000 XRP gives you $30 million? Yeah. $1,000 XRP would give you $30 million. You'd be an ultra high net worth individual. Over 30 million is considered an ultra high net worth individual. It's like 0.00001% of people ever get that wealthy. Very, very little amount of people. I think, with XRP and some of these digital assets, there's going to be more in that group. But a lot of people are going to burn through it. And we want to continue to provide financial education and business resources and all the stuff there in the mastermind so people don't make those mistakes. You want to align yourself with the right professionals. So the answer is it could be life-changing for very good, and it could also be life-changing for really bad. There are people that win the lottery that go bankrupt within 3 to 5 years because they've never had that amount of money and they don't know what to do with it. They haven't moved their emotional and financial IQ up to the level that it needs to be able to manage that type of money. They haven't surrounded themselves with the right professionals to make sure that they're not making the mistakes and they don't pay a ton of taxes or get swindled or end up in a lawsuit and they don't protect those assets. They don't know how to do that. So not saying you got to work with us, right? I say that all the time. I think we have one of the best teams that's out there. I've done everything that I can to possibly curate that and make sure that we're here for the XRP community. But we do work with other people that have curated teams around themselves, and we just provide, the wealth management or other advisory. We kind of get in where we fit in, whatever gaps you have. That's what we want to provide. We just want to provide value any way that we can. And if I can give one thing to you, it is just to start educating yourself and making sure that you understand how to manage this wealth over the long term. You understand the tools that you're going to have access to and how to talk to professionals about those. And how to mitigate risk and set yourself up in your estate to be able to pass these things on to your children or, whatever philanthropic interest you might have. So anyway, thank you for the kind words and the super chat, and excited to see that you're here in Texas. There's lots of songs about Laredo. Dance to country music in a previous life. But yeah, I think it could be a life-changing amount, both for good and bad. Just depends on how you're going to use it. A couple more super chats here, and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. We got Casey. He says, currently, don't tell how much people you got. Don't tell people how much you have, brother. He says, currently 70 plus XRP. Should I pull the trigger to put it in a family trust or an LLC, or should I just keep putting money into the coin? If it's 70,000, probably go ahead and set up an LLC. you're at a point where it starts to make sense now to be able to mitigate taxes and do your estate planning and put that together. So on that topic, if you guys do have somewhere north of $50,000 to $80,000 in XRP, the other lady that had 30,000 XRP is probably in this group also. It could be a good time. I'm not saying you have to do it, but you might start looking at setting up a corporation to be able to manage your assets and pay yourself over the long term, be able to take profits, use it to produce income, use it as a credit chassis that removes the asset from yourself, protect it using the corporate veil, segregate it from your personal estate, be able to use it as an S corp to get passed through taxation. There's PPLI, insurance. There's a lot of things that an LLC sets you up for. It is the most flexible way to get the most benefit in the short term for the least price to prepare yourself for price appreciation on XRP. And again, we do it. If you would like to work with us to do it, you can work with an attorney to do it. If they do it right, it's going to cost you somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 all day long. Draft the operating agreement, set up the entities, registered agent, certificate of good standing, virtual office. Operating agreement alone is going to cost you somewhere between $1,800 and $2,500. We do everything all in for $2,000. And we do it the right way where you maintain your anonymity. It's filed in Wyoming. You get attorney-client privilege. You get the benefit of no state taxes there, and you get the benefit of the regulations in that jurisdiction because we use a registered agent. And again, our names are on the LLC and not yours, so you can maintain anonymity. So if that's something that interests you and you want a step-by-step process on how to move your assets in there and everything to do it the right way, you can go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and you can use the code 50 OFF OFFDAG LLC. Get you a $2,000. It's normally $4,000 for the LLC and everything that we provide. But if you need a meeting, we walk you through everything, hold your hand. But if you use that code, we do everything for $2,000. So 50 off 50 OFFDAG LLC, all capitalized. Get you everything you need for your LLC to manage your digital assets. Justin Kelly over here says, I only have 500 XRP. Will I be miss the freedom train? Thanks for all you've shared. I appreciate you. Again, man, like it depends on how long you hold it. If they're worth $100,000 a piece, you have $500,000. Or sorry, you have $500 million. Right? Like, would 500 Bitcoin change your life? For sure. You might have to wait 10 years though. So don't think it's a get rich quick scheme. If you do have large amounts of XRP, for sure, like you're going to do really well in a very short period of time, I think. But people that have the lesser amounts, like you're not foregone. It's not like you're not on the freedom train. Your freedom train is just going to take a little longer to get to the station. So stack what you can. Everybody's in a different place financially and in their life. A little investment can go a long way. Like as an example, I'll give you guys an example. My barber, he runs his little barber shop. He used to date Miranda Lambert, cool guy, has really good hair, recently got married, had a baby, good people. He doesn't have extra money. Like he puts all the money that he's got back into his business. He cuts hair for a living. He's in his 40s. Good people, just not great with managing his wealth. Does a little side hustle, sings. But he had a little money in his emergency fund when XRP was 30 cents. And I talked him into taking that $500 that he had for a spare tire or like other expenses or problems that his wife fought him on. And he bought XRP with it and stuck it in the wallet. So he's got like 1,500 XRP. Okay. And I told him, I'm like, look, sit it over there, forget about it. Don't even think about it. When you're 50, you'll be able to look up and you'll be able to retire. You don't have to do, I'm not saying not to forego your 401k or any other retirement plans, but just that small investment stuck away, not thought about for 10 years would likely allow him to retire his family and be good and be able to pay for his kids' college or whatever else he's going to have later on. So don't think just because it's not that much today that it's not going to be that much for forever, but you are going to have to wait a while. This person says, do you like I Trust? just come work with us, man. If you want to set up an IRA with large amounts of money or roll your 401k over, just work with Digital Wealth Partners. We can set up the RIA and invest in digital assets and buy XRP with it. And here in the next 30 to 60 days, we'll be able to generate returns, which I trust, and Bitcoin IRA and none of these other people are going to be able to do. So just so you know. All right. We're probably going to hang out a little bit longer than I intended. This person says, I'm holding 3,000 XRP, going to make retirement less stressful at some point in the future. I think so, Tommy. I think you're going to be in a really good spot. If you're, again, like, it's going to take 3 to 5 years if you got that much to be able to hang out and make sure that you're in a good spot. We got Mr. Verizon. He says, I need 100K for a new business venture next month. Would you recommend taking out a second loan on my home or selling half my XRP and XLM? Can't give you financial advice, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can service the debt. I don't know what you can do. I don't want you, like, asking me if you should put up your home. Like, that's a hard decision. I know a lot of people that have. I'll say that. I can't tell you what to do, but I know a lot of people that have. And I am, like, today was a really good Monday. I'm just going to say that. Jordan Soto says, at what some point can we become a client of yours to custody XRP? Also, what's your price prediction by end of year? So right now, our thresholds are 100,000 XRP or $500,000 in current portfolio value to be a client at Digital Wealth Partners. We are going to work some stuff out in the near future, next 90 days. That's not the case. But right now, that's the threshold. And on the other side of a $10 XRP, that's going to go to $1 million. So it'll be at least $1 million that you have to have in order to work with us at Digital Wealth Partners. But again, we're working on solutions, quote unquote, for the little guy. That it's not going to be the little guy for forever. We know that. We want to make sure that you guys have access to institutional custody and benefits also. So trying to sort that out, trying to make it economical and figure out what that's going to be. But in the short term, those are the thresholds that we work with. And price prediction by the end of the year. Again, if everything plays out for the Domino theory, man, we got a 4-digit XRP here in 2025. Trying to get through all the super chats and make sure we answer all these questions. We got Charlie Stevens. What's up, man? He says, hey, Jake, new to all this and also a little guy. You make it easy to understand. You're awesome and appreciated. Part of Beyond Broke. Awesome, man. Glad to have you in the community. Looking forward to being client one day if the hand stays diamond. Yeah, you gotta hold. But I think a lot of people will be there. If you're just able to be patient and hang out. Again, imagine having, like this guy says, I got 200 XRP. Imagine having 200 Bitcoin today. Like, just sit it somewhere and forget about it. I'll tell you a story before we wrap it up tonight. I'm sure we'll get some more super chats on here before I get off. But I went to an NFT conference in 21. First time I ever flew private. It was very cool. Great experience. And I get there, and there's 5 billionaires in the room. And one of the guys was an ETH billionaire, and he was crazy. This dude's been to prison. He's wild. Okay. And he's up on stage talking about what he's doing. And he was like, yeah, take my $1 billion in Ethereum. And then I borrowed against it in Aave at 90%. And I took UST and I staked that in Aave and then doubled down again. So now I got $1.7 billion. And then I put that in UST Luna. And I'm making 20% on my money. And I was like, whoa. Wow, man. Like, you're playing with fire. And he was. I don't know if he got liquidated or not. I'm sure he lost a lot of money. But I'll tell you how that guy made his money. And that's the point of this story. He was in the Ethereum ICO. He had some Bitcoin because of some stuff that he was doing. And he participated in the ICO. He took like $100,000 or $200,000 of Bitcoin, swapped it all for Ethereum. And within like 2 or 3 weeks of doing that, the cops picked him up and he went to jail. He was in jail for 5 years. He had that ledger in the top of a closet in his house. And when he got out, it was still in the top of that closet in that house. And that's how he became a billionaire. Was he couldn't sell it. He couldn't mess with it. It sat there. He had no way to get access to it. He didn't know what it was doing. It just sat there. Alone, separated. the accounts with the most money in them, in retirement accounts and at brokerages, you know which ones they are? Dead people that didn't have a beneficiary listed on the account because it's just sat there and compounded over decades. So this is a time in the market game. Like, it doesn't matter how much you have or where you start, you're starting that snowball, and it's going to continue to compound the longer that you're in this market. You're in it at the right time. We're right in the institutional adoption phase of this stuff. You're here before everybody else. You're still early. And all you have to do is sit on your hands for a while. Okay. And that's hard to do if you're watching it every day. So get outside, breathe, touch grass, go do other stuff, make an allocation when you can here and there, and just put your head down and work for the next 3 to 5 years if you don't have a whole lot. And when you look up at the end of that, you're going to be in a really good spot. Christopher Andrews says, bro, please tell me Doppler Finance isn't a scam. I don't know, man. We haven't talked to them. They won't talk to us. They won't provide us information. Normally I'm not super happy about that when people won't disclose things or don't want to work with us, because we're institutional. Like, we're buttoned up. We're under the purview of the SEC and FINRA. Like, we've got all the licenses. We couldn't work with them anyway, because unless it's offshore clients, because Doppler's not available here in the US, which is another concern to me. So if you are participating here in the US and you're using a VPN to do it, there's no recourse. Like, you got no way to get it back if it's a problem. So I don't know. I don't want to talk bad about anybody else. I think everybody else is working on a solution to be able to generate returns on XRP. We have it. We have an institutional way to do it. It's buttoned up. It's audited. It's visible. We have paperwork that's signed. We are legally liable for losses and problems. We have insurance. Like, we've done it at the highest level possible. Any DeFi, like, it's just not there yet. It's not done in institutional custody. They don't have insurance on it. Like, there's a lot of things that aren't in place. So it's up to you. I'm not saying don't participate in it. Give it a go. But make sure you're doing your research and understand that there is counterparty risk with it. I don't know that it's a scam. I don't know what it is, but it's not anything I'm going to play with. Because again, we tried to reach out to them and we got crickets, which is unusual. Most people are like, hey, yeah, let's work together. Let's do something. For them not to respond gives me pause, at least. Steve Taylor says, with the delay in the Ripple case settlement, how can spot ETFs be approved and listed when institutions can't purchase? Without institutional involvement, the price delay, will this delay price action? No, it would exacerbate it. There's only the amount that's on the exchanges. They have no other outlet to be able to purchase it. There'd be a huge supply shock. Like, that's the whole point. And that's why I think the case will settle after price appreciation, because they need the supply shock to drive it to the value that they need it to be. And the spot ETFs are not predicated on the case settling. The XRP itself has already been ruled not a security. We already have futures live on it. Everything's ready to go. I'm telling you, today we got the green light, man. Like, I don't know how to tell you any other way. Trying to get through the super chats here and make sure we get to everything. We got White Collar Trucker. What's up, man? He says, hey, boss, what do you think about Cynthia Lunas canceling a meeting with Brad G? Think they think too much of Bitcoin instead of being pro-crypto? Yeah, I do. I think that they know that Bitcoin's under the gun and it's not the one, and they're salty about it. Even though Brad has been pro-Bitcoin and been super above board on everything and owns Bitcoin, I think they know that its time is short and they don't want Ripple to be successful. And so they're just going to turn their nose up. Biff, H-bar in 5 years. Thanks for dedicating your time. $1,000, maybe. Yeah. Again, that kind of sounds crazy, but with the institutional partners that are on the council for H-bar and the demand that I could see for that network, I think it's going to be the base layer for decentralized dApps and Web3 and the security. Like, it's partnered with Swift. Like, there's a lot of things for H-bar that are a big deal. I think that it's another sleeper for people. It's my number 2. H-bar is still my number 2. I don't own any right now, but it's my number 2. We got Jeff. He says, really enjoy the lives and YouTube videos. Thank you, man. If you had to drop 26K, what would you do to make it safe mine since Caleb and Brown right now. It's in Caleb and Brown right now. Do I need to trust LLC? Or am I good in Fireblocks? So Fireblocks has segregated custody. And for the amount that you have, they're probably the best option that exists out there besides just holding on a cold wallet. I've kind of poo-pooed on Caleb and Brown recently. It's not because I don't think they're buttoned up, but they're not an institutional custodian, and I don't like when people market themselves as something that they're not. They're not going to provide you insurance because they don't have it. Fireblocks has the insurance, and it's just on their infrastructure. It's not crime insurance. They're not bankruptcy remote. They're not an institutional custodian. They don't have a financial license to be able to transact as a financial partner there in Australia. They do comply with all the guidelines. They are auditable. They're backed 1-to-1. They have controls in place. There's a lot of benefits. They do a good job. I just don't like when people market themselves as something they're not. And this is my definition too. There is no like actual definition for an institutional custodian. I just have a very high standard for what that means because we operate in a space at a level that most people don't. So, they do use Fireblocks, which is an institutional grade software for custodians, but they themselves are not a qualified custodian. They don't have the licenses to operate that way. And again, they're not bankruptcy remote. They don't segregate that away from the rest of their business. I don't think it's going anywhere. I do think it's backed 1-to-1. I do think they have controls. You do have a broker, but they're going to rake you for fees when you sell it. So, I don't know if you just want to hold it there with no cost, probably not a problem, but I wouldn't transact there because it's going to cost you a lot of money. And you could do it a lot cheaper on OTC Desk or other providers. And, on the other side of price appreciation, we love to work with you. They will set up a account for a trust or an LLC though. You are going to need that document notarized, and that's one of the reasons that we notarize the document when we move the assets in there. So, I think you're fine. If you have that amount of XRP, probably a good spot to hold it, along with Decent would be my, 2 recommendations. Until we have the option here in the near future for you guys. We got Myriad. They say, what are your thoughts on Kita that is backed by former Google CEO, fastest TPS at 10 million transactions per second, and booming currently, launching mainnet in June? I think they're late to the party. Here's the deal. And people can argue with me on this, and that's fine. Banks and institutions are going to trial things for a decade before they roll them out. Zalman's good. Tangent's good. Over here on TikTok. I don't know who they're working. Like, cool, you have a good CEO, but who are your partners? What's the use case? Like, what kind of traction do you have? There, like, as an example, we know Matt Niemerg. He's one of the chief architects and founders of Aleph Zero. It's the only privacy chain that's actually a privacy chain. They're dissolving their network because they never got adoption. It was super high TPS. It had extreme security. It had smart contract components. It was built out in the most progressive coding languages. Like, you can have an awesome product, but if you don't have the institutional adoption or use case or specific niche that you're operating in where you're able to get traction and actual users and customer base, speculation. That's all it is. So I'm going to continue to find the things that already have traction, and I'll probably continue to do this even in like a VC role later on when we allocate to private equity and we do either angel investing or early stage investment, seed or Series A. I'm going to be looking, and if you guys know what's Dan's last name, Fleisman. Dan Fleisman. He's the one who put on Elevator Nights, which is the NFT event that I went to that had that crazy guy talking about his ETH. And Dan made a lot of money on Bitcoin and ETH and other stuff too. He was the youngest guy. He was 19 years old when he took a company public. If you want to go look him up. Anyway, he's done a lot of venture deals. He's invested in a lot of companies. He's a serial entrepreneur, done really well for himself. He only invests in companies that already have traction in the market, already are doing somewhere between 1 and 3 million in revenue, have a proven track record. They have specific metrics that they're looking for in the businesses. And I'm the same way when it comes to blockchain. Like, I need to see specific things, and if I have to do some research on this to see if it meets that criteria, but just offhand, based on what you told me, I'd still need to see a lot more before I would look at it as an investment. We got CD Singh. What's up, man? He says, big fan. I'm in crypto because of you. Cool, man. That's awesome. Thank you. Just think when it hits $1,000, so I can plan low-level retirement. Looking forward to it, brother. Did you buy XRP today? I buy XRP almost every day, Marsha. any extra little bit of cash I got, buy a little extra XRP. So the answer is yes. Honest Aim, hey man, it's good to see you. I didn't see you up earlier in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. He said, had a super day. Know how hard you work on the solutions for us little guys. We had a great day too. Awesome to hear it, man. Blessings to you and your entire team. Thank you so much. Excited for XRP Vegas. Excited to see you guys. And I think blessings are coming all of our ways. We got Dr. Denise. Hey, ma'am. 1111, make a wish. She says, thank you for all that you do for the XRP community. The crypto quantum discussion spot on. So happy to hear the IRA yield. Your innovation and team is to be commended. Let's go. Thank you so much, ma'am. Everybody make a wish for Denise. She's got the 1111 on the super chat there. And we are at 10:47 on the real time. So I am going to go ahead. We got Jeremiah. We got one more super chat. Aside from XRP appreciation, will your company eventually dabble into stablecoins? Are you familiar with RITMEX? Yeah, we will definitely deal with stablecoins. We'll probably do lettered treasury strategies and other stablecoin strategies to be able to arbitrage things and be able to generate returns for people. Already looking at some of that right now as a way to be able to generate returns in a risk-free way. So, definitely something we're going to look at, but it's not, I don't know about RITMEX, RITTEX, RemitTex. There we go. That's probably right. RemitTex. It's not something I've heard of, but I will mention it to my CIO and see if there's some interest there. We got Angel, Crypto Angel 123. Would you sell your Bitcoin now and swap it to XRP, especially if you had a B small amount? Thanks so much for all that you do for us. Google XRP versus Bitcoin. And you can see the descending triangle of that chart. If you want to pull it up on TradingView, that's what I like to look at it on. And you can see that it's currently at 0.00002250 is the trading between the two. That's how much XRP or how much Bitcoin is one XRP. It's been as high as 0.0024 or 0025. So that's a 10x from here in comparison to Bitcoin. I think you could easily see that on this go. I think that as Bitcoin falls, you could even see a 1-to-1 pair. I know that sounds crazy. People are going to be mad about that. But I think in the not so distant future, you might see a 1-to-1 pair of Bitcoin and XRP. Sean Side says, if your LLC S Corp not created by you, would you be able to work with DWP? And is the process complicated? No, it's not a problem. If you have something set up and your assets are in there, we're happy to work with you if you've established it yourself. There may be some things we need to fix for you on the corporate filings. If we'll look at it for you and make sure that there's not. But yeah, happy to utilize whatever entity you currently have to manage your assets, and you can definitely work with Digital Wealth Partners. And with that, we've been through everything. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Monday. Again, if you do want to join the mastermind, you're more than welcome to do it. You just go to beyondbroke.com and use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, get you a free month there in the mastermind, social or carbon 1. If you need an LLC, if you want to set yourself up for success and make sure that you're in position to take advantage of this appreciation on digital assets, and you already have somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 in digital assets, an LLC can make a lot of sense. So you want to go to digitalfamilyoffice.io, go to services, LLC, and then put in the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG LLC, all capitalized, get you everything you need for your LLC, EIN, articles of organization, registered agent, certificate of good standing, BOIR if we need to go back to it. I don't think we're going to have to. Virtual office, step-by-step process on how to move your assets in there. template for your operating agreement, and how to set up a bank account, along with a meeting to walk you through everything if you need it. All for $2,000. So if you go to a law firm, it's going to be three to $4 grand all day long. We want to make sure that it's affordable for people and it's done the right way there in Wyoming. So would love to work with you. Living Legacies posted up here. Appreciate you, brother. So there it is at the bottom of the screen, 50 off DAG LLC. Get you everything you need for the entity formation there for your LLC. And then last but not least, if you do want to earn some returns on that XRP and you are accredited, you can go to digitalwealthpartners.net. You are going to need at least 100,000 XRP or over $500,000 in current value of your digital asset portfolio. And we would love to work with you. And that can be across anything. It can be IRAs, trusts, LLCs, any type of entity or wrapper. You can come in and work with us as long as you have that amount. If you have over 425,000 XRP, even if it's across all those things as an aggregate total and you want to move it in, we're going to grandfather you in if you move your assets in by June 15th at 20 basis points. Like, the value on that is, like, I can't explain to you the value proposition on that. We'd love to work with you if that's something you're interested in and you do have that much XRP. We want to make it as easy and frictionless as possible in that experience for you. So please reach out to digitalwealthpartners.net and go to the contact us form there. We got one more. We got somebody says, can they join from Minnesota? Absolutely. We would take anybody globally for the mastermind and anybody globally for any of the other products and services that we provide. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, a wonderful week, and we will be back on Wednesday. Until then, y'all have a blessed one. We'll see you on the next one.